a little bit nervous about taking on the role? After all, it is Cilla.
Very nervous, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, she's an icon. But Jeff Pope, the genius writer who wrote Mrs. Biggs as well, when we were out in Australia, he'd kind of mentioned that he might be doing her story. And then I kind of forgot about it, and then he approached me and said, you know, would you fancy doing it? And of course, I mean, what actress wouldn't jump at the chance to play? She's everyone knows Cilla, but the thing about Cilla is, as soon as you mention her name, people do an impression of her. And so we had long conversations, me and the director, Paul Whittington, who I also worked with a lot on Mrs. Biggs, with Jeff, and we decided to do our version of it and play Jeff's script, you know. He'd had loads of meetings with Cilla, so I just had to play what was on the page, really. But I did 3 months of research, so I got lots of little mannerisms of her, but we did our version of it, because we didn't want to kind of do her a disservice by doing the impression that everyone does, you know, and I'm not an impersonator, I'm an actress, so hopefully there's enough in there that gives the hint of Cilla, and it's just an incredible story, I think. I don't think any of the younger generation will know that she had such an amazing singing career. Like all those consecutive number ones, I certainly didn't. I know from Blind Date, Surprise, Surprise. So it was all new to me, and so I'm excited for that younger generation to see how driven she was and where she came from, just a little girl from Scotty Road, and she became the highest paid TV presenter of all time.
I know Cilla worked very closely with the writer, but
Yeah.
I'm sure she's going to love the show, but are you a tiny bit nervous about her watching it?
No, her and Jeff had loads of sit-downs, and so the story that's written was what she told Jeff, and Robert, her lovely son, was here today and saw it for the first time, the full screening, you know. And they've been nothing but supportive of me, to be honest. We went for dinner before we started shooting, and I was very nervous then because, you know, Cilla Black, you know, I was in awe of her. So I sat next to her and kind of babbled on about how brilliant she was. But I had her support straight from then. So that kind of sent me up to Liverpool and put me at ease. And so no, I'm hoping she'll like it. Hopefully I've done her story justice. I hope so.
Were you able to speak to her much before filming at all to get her advice on anything?
She actually gave me a number, and I didn't ring. And I didn't ring because I was so shy. I'm completely that's where we differ, me and Cilla. She's much more says what she thinks, and that's why she's got where she is, because she's so determined and ballsy, whereas I was too nervous to pick up the phone.
There are some parts in it some scenes where she's quite ruthless towards her career. How was that to play those parts?
I don't think she was ruthless. I think ruthless is maybe the wrong word. I think she was just determined, and actually, I find she was fair. You know, the scene where with Bobby, and she just, you know, he gets offered a recording contract. Bobby was a rock, and I mean, she was in a man's world fighting, you know, against all these other acts. She was in a queue behind the Beatles, and you know, and I think she was fair to say, well, if he took that career on, they might split up, you know. And so I think she was just determined, and she wanted her and Bobby to stay as they were, you know. So I don't think anything was ruthless. I think it was meant well, and if she hadn't been headstrong like that, she'd have never become the star that she was. And her and Bobby were a team, and he managed her till the day he died, you know, and I think that's really important. I think she was just a determined, strong, working class woman who that's how she got to the top.